Hi, my name is Corey. This channel mainly focuses on music and record collecting, and today I had the awesome and unique opportunity to talk to Charles Wag-A-Bag Wagner. You see, Charles grew up in the epicenter of funk music in Dayton, Ohio. Now, funk music basically bridges the gap between 60s R&B and soul and 80s hip-hop, and basically dominated the 70s, but undeniably funk's influence can be heard in many genres of music, including hard rock and heavy metal. Now, Charles was right there in the middle of it, meeting the pioneers of this rebirth of funk after the baton was handed from James Brown. So let's talk to Charles and see what he has to say about Growin Up Funky.
I'm Charles, the Wag-A-Bag Wagner out of Dayton, Ohio. Grew up there. Long history of Dayton. Dayton was, at the time when I was growing up, was the funk city of Ohio. With all different groups that came out of Dayton, you know. Mainly one of the Ohio players, Lakeside, of course, Zapp and Roger, Dayton itself, Into-Me, and Heatwave. Heatwave was one of the groups that actually recorded in London. And when they came back to the United States and back to their hometown in Dayton, Ohio, they just blew up, man. They just really blew up. So I'm proud to be a product of Dayton. So I grew up in the children's services, which is called Shawen Acres. And ironically, at that time, Larry Troutman, the oldest Troutman brother, he was the youth director, so he kind of like ran the children's services out there. And Rufus, the second oldest brother, he was my college parent. And he would always tell me, yeah, Wag, I got a little brother down in Hamilton, man. He'll whoop you. I would say to him, like, where you at? You know, so there was times where I would go down to Hamilton on weekends, and I met this one little skinny guy with a big old afro, and it was Zapp. And from that day on, we became best friends. I used to play on Larry's Congo back in the day. He had a little music room on the children's services on the grounds, and he would go down there and play his congos. Roger would have his talk box and guitars set up down there. Some kids did go down there. Roger was our music teacher down there. So certain kids, they would go down and learn how to play music. There was another kid named Tony Jackson. This kid, he worked for the Troutmans as well. But Tony was one of the kind of kids, man, that would walk down the alley and see a broken TV or radio, or whatever. He'd bring it to his room, and within an hour he'd be watching or listening to it. You know, he would just never went to electrical school, nothing like that, none of that. Yeah, exactly, you know. And so he became an engineer for Troutman Enterprises. He's one of the top recording engineers. I mean, real talented, self-taught guy.
So Roger was recognizing talent in the youth in that area.
Absolutely
and not only
correct.
recognizing it, going ahead and pulling them in and making them a part of the camp.
Absolutely. There was two things about Troutman Enterprises. A lot of the kids that grew up in Shawen Acres, a great deal of them was hired by the Troutman's family. They either built houses or they was in the music business. You know, either, and sometimes they did both. You know, I helped build Shirley Murdock's house and some other houses in Dayton when I was off the road. Terry Dews, he was another guy who did both. You know, again, Curtis Postway, a guy I grew up with, he did both. You know, so some of the kids, man, like the family really embraced you, and they really, you know, they saw good potential in you, and that's why they embraced you, help you grow into the business.
So where did you attend high school?
I went to Fairview in freshman year. I kind of like grew up in the children's services, so that Fairview High School, the Bulldogs, some of the Bulldogs, that was the closest school to the Montgomery County Children's Services. But my elementary school was Longfellow, Jackson Elementary, now went to Longfellow. And the thing about Longfellow was that it was right there at Salem Avenue in Central, where right behind the school, the Ohio Players had a studio. And oftentimes we would see their bus either coming in or going out, you know. So they would go up to the bus and see Pee Wee and Sugarfoot, and my cousin Marshall and Satch and all them guys. Now I knew them at an early age because, again, my cousin Marshall Jones was part of that group. So it was kind of real exciting seeing their tour buses coming in or going out on the road.
So you guys would gang up kind of as kids and watch the bus come in and out?
Yeah, and go up, talk to them, shake their hands, take pictures, all that, you know, yeah.
They always had time for you?
Oh, always. They love the kids, always. For us in Dayton, there was a place called the Roaster Hut. It was right there on West 3rd Street, and they made the best chicken. Lou's Roaster Hut. And Lou was, he was an all-city, all-star basketball player at Dunbar High School. big white guy, and he got this restaurant, man. He hired a lot of kids in the neighborhood to work the restaurant, clean the parking lot up, you know. Of course, me and my stepdad, we had a restaurant at the time called the Sandwich Masters. We made some of the best cheesesteaks, Philly cheesesteaks in the whole city. My definition of funk music is having that bottom bass, that bottom tom, that drum, you know, drum hitting that bottom. Something's going, when you first hear the sound, it's going to make you automatically get up and move, you know. For example, Roger doing the talk box, more bounce, dum, 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 dum. You hear that thumping bass, and like you just want to just jump up and move, start dancing. You know, you hear that sound. The Ohio players, they had the bass plus the horns. They had one of the best horn sections in around the whole nation. And another thing that made that group so successful of their horns, just make you get up and shake your feet, man, shake your rump.
When you're growing up and starting to first hear this kind of this funky sound, about how old are you when you start recognizing something's going on?
Wow. Well, for me, Godfather Soul was my thing. James Brown, I did the James Brown dances, all his moves when I was a kid. I was at the dinner on weekends. My family would have me come to the living room and put my 45s on, James Brown records, and do the James Brown, and they would throw me quarters on the ground, you know. And my neighbors did the same thing. My next door neighbors did the same thing. So, funk for me, James Brown brought a lot of funk, you know, to the world. However, a lot of that funk was rebirthed in Dayton. And of course, I had a cousin, Marshall Jones, who was a bass player for the Ohio Players from the very, very beginning of that creation. So funk music, man, has always been a part of my life. You know, I hear that bass, that funky bass, that funky drum beat, whatever, you know, the horns, you know, I will get up and dance. I will get up and move, you know, to the beat. You know, that was me. But in 1980, when More Bounce first hit the radio, came on the radio, that was the thing there. Yeah, and matter of fact, 1980 was kind of a bad year for me. I got into some trouble, and I had to go through some time. But when I came back, during the whole time I was gone, the Troutman family still stayed connected with me, and they still helped support me. And when I came home, they gave me a job, you know. And I remember the first day Zapp came over where I was working at. I was working at one of the beer and wine drive-thrus. He brought me the Zapp For You album, the cassette tape, a Zapp jacket, and a Zapp sweatsuit. You know? And Larry would come through. Larry would come through in his Cadillac and says, "Wag, get ready to get relocated. You know, get ready to get relocated." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You come work for us." And within months, that's when he made it happen. You know. First, I became Zapp's personal assistant, and that requires me moving out of my grandmother's house and moving in with Zapp. And so our first house was in Trotwood, 3 or 4 bedroom, nice ranch style house. But while we was on the road, I came back and we was moved into Roger's first mini mansion, 7 bedrooms, 3.5 car, 4.5 car park garage, 3.5 baths, a game room, a weight room, a sunken kitchen, sunken living room. I mean, this was a huge house, man. I'm like, "Man, this is me and yours?" He said, "Yep, this is me and yours." You know, it was like living in heaven, man. But on the road, my job was to take care of Zapp, take care of Shirley Murdock, take care of Roger. Because actually during that time, there was 2 bands. There was Zapp and Roger, and there was Shirley Murdock. So I eventually went on the road with Shirley Murdock. Zapp was assistant manager, and I was the stage manager. So I learned to arrange the stage, you know, according to how she wanted it. You know, there were certain things that I had to be at a certain spot on the stage doing certain songs, because she would come to the stage left, the stage right, get some water, get wiped off or whatever, and I had to be there on time. You know, something went wrong with a drum head busted or a guitar string broke or something, I had to be there to fix it. You know, so I made a lot of mistakes starting off, but after a while, I got better at it. I remember this one time we was down south somewhere playing with Phyllis Hyman, and Shirley opened up for Phyllis Hyman, and right when Shirley came out on the stage, I believe it was happening 20 seconds before she came out, I had tripped over the mic cord and unplugged the mic cord and didn't have a clue what to do. And Russell, he was a monitor guy, he found it, and as soon as Shirley walked to the mic and said "tonight," he plugged it right in, right on time. I'm like, wow. I mean, I remember when Heat Wave, going back to this group, real talented group. When they started hitting the charts, their mother come in my restaurant all the time, the Sandwich Master, and she made me automatically put me in a fan club, you know. But we're not gonna forget about Slave. I went to school with them guys at Fairview. Danny Westbury and Mark Adams and Mark Hicks and them guys, man. I remember when they first recorded Slide on a cassette. I went to Mark Hicks' house and heard it the first time. He said, "Wag, here, check this out." You know, Steve Arrington. I mean, all them guys, man. You know, very, very talented guys.
How did you get your nickname?
we was in the down south. I mean, in the deep south, going to a southern university. I think it was Beekman, Bethune Cook University down in Mississippi somewhere. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was back in the backwoods, cotton fields, and there was a little carryout called the Wag-A-Bag, and so Zapp started calling me that, you know. And I accept it. I embrace the name. So, you know, even right now today when Zapp come and visit me or I visit him, hey, Wag-A-Bag, you know. So that's how I got that nickname. Well, April 25th, 1999, I was incarcerated. I was laying on my bunk, and a guy came to me and says, "Man, Roger Troutman just got shot." And I cut my TV on, and I mean, I couldn't believe my eyes. And my heart started beating, so I got on the phone and I called Zapp's wife. I called Zapp's house, and she took my phone call, told me, you know, what happened, and I just like couldn't believe it. You know, I was just lost. And knowing both brothers for so many years, like I said, they helped raise me. I was just in awe. You know, I couldn't attend the funeral or nothing like that, but you know, I dealt with that in my own personal way. And a lot of folks could say, well, if I was only there, you know, I should have been there. I would have stopped it. Well, it's good to say that. You know, you can say what you want to say, but you know, it didn't happen that way. You know what I'm saying? Nobody knows why Larry did what he did, but it's a great tragedy. But Roger's music will still live on forever and forever. And I miss him. I love him. I miss both of them. You know, not just Roger, but both of them.
So I wanted to kind of get back to your story too, and you keep talking about how the Troutmans were a big part of your life and how you invested a lot of time in that, and you had some difficulties in your own life.
Absolutely.
How did you leverage what they offered for help to improve your life and maybe make changes in your life to make, you know, change your future, right?
They didn't turn their backs on me. You know, they still saw something in me that I probably didn't see in myself at the time.
What is the Zapp band doing today?
Still on the road, still playing music, still doing their routine shows, staying very busy. Thomas Troutman, which is Zapp's son, dancer, got his own dance school in Dayton. He has his own group, his own everything. I mean, plus he also still traveled with his father with the Zapp band. So when he's not doing that, he's either in the studio or he's doing his own shows and stuff. Very, very talented young man. I think he's 22, maybe 23. Very, very talented young man. I mean, Thomas Troutman, he has to make a name for himself at a very early age.
The legacy continues.
The solid continues. Recently, over the summer, Marshall, he's passed away with my cousin. He's the last original Ohio prayer member. And then when Forrest Sugarfoot passed away, we did a free show downtown at the water park, and I escorted him to the stage. And then that was a very exciting thing. He never forgot my name. When he saw me, he knew who I was, you know. And I was pleased to do that. I was honored to do that. Shirley Murdock, she's still doing her thing, mainly gospel now, her and Dale. So a lot of the old band members, man, they still hanging around, making it happen. What can I say? I appreciate, you know, Lester Troutman. He's the manager. Just to watch his kids grow up. Now they doing what I was doing back in the day. Lester was one of the guys, man, that wag. You know, that's how you do it, wag. You know, always on me. But it was for my good. You know, I was his drum technician. You know, and man, I did everything to learn how to set his drums up properly. You know, take markers and mark. Once you get him set, his mark around the stands and whatnot. You know, And after a while, I caught on, And not only just that, man, but our family grew up poor, like most of us did, who actually made it in the music business, look back and say, hey, we're not gonna forget these kids that we helped raise and whatnot. So it's like I felt like I'm a part of the family, I really feel like I'm a part of the family. Just think if I was still on the road, but arthritis in my knees and whatnot, everybody has their beginning, their ending point, what I'm saying? But I'm just blessed to be a part of that and have experienced what I have, in the past. And made me a better person who I am today.